The one where he gives the conditions of for the Dimi contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. You're mentioning a lot of things and you're kind of going forward instead of
Well,
addressing it.
the only issue there was you're portraying it as, hey, it's just payment for services. Whereas they're describing it as you're humiliated, you're disgraced, you're belittled. If you see a Christian or a Jew, shove them down this alleyway.
That's got nothing to do with jizya itself, but we'll talk about that as well. First thing, can I look at the hadith now? That you're trying to so frequently trying to get over? Even its famous websites, man. You gotta buy yourself some books.
This is directly from the Darussalam edition of Sahih al-Bukhari.
What you're looking up where?
Very good.
This is not from Darussalam. That's a lie. Hold on. This here is not Darussalam's
I
Ibn
personally
Kathir.
guarantee you.
Ibn
No,
Kathir.
that's not Ibn Kathir.
Oh,
That's the
okay,
hadith.
okay.
That's hadith. That's Sahih al-Bukhari.
Excellent. Bukhari. So let's clarify that because you were pointing at Ibn Kathir, right? So,
Yeah, when I quoted Ibn Kathir, I quoted Muhammad first.
Gotcha. So now let's look at the hadith. جعل رزقي تحت الظل. Right? So this is what you're saying, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the rizq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam under the sword, right? Now, you know about khums, I'm assuming.
No, what's that?
All right, so I'm glad you can translate.
So that's Muhammad's livelihood.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, right? And see, you've cut this for some reason, so we don't have.
But because that's a quotation.
Okay, but there's a reference here with the one there, which we don't know what it says because you cut
I
it.
can look it up.
Okay, cool. So the livelihood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what's called the khums. This doesn't come from jizya. Okay? That's the first thing you misunderstood the hadith, right? This is why we have al-waw here to show a different subject that's coming up. Okay? The livelihood of Rasulullah does not come from ghanima, it does not come from zakat, it does not come from sadaqah, it comes what's called the khums. The khums would be that if there is a battle, from the spoils of the war itself, not the jizya later, from the spoils of the war, you would take 1/5 of that to be given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he could then spend it upon the people and upon his expenses and so on. Right? So you misunderstood the hadith first off by thinking this is talking about jizya, right? Second,
He does say jizya.
I know, but
I didn't believe the first part was about jizya. The second part.
okay. No, you said the livelihood of Rasulullah comes from jizya, which is on tape.
No. I quoted it.
You didn't say that? I'm glad we got it on
My
tape.
livelihood is under the shade of my spear, and
Right.
he who disobeys my
Right.
orders will be humiliated by paying jizya.
Excellent.
The thing was, you're portraying jizya as, hey, this
It
happy
is.
fun money to take care of you.
I didn't say happy
He says
fun money.
humiliated by paying jizya. That's what I was asking about.
Sure. Let me explain it, bro. Take it easy. First thing that you need to clarify for your audience is the livelihood of Rasulullah SAW does not come from jizya. Are we clear on that? Now you look confused. You just said you didn't say that, but it's all right. We got you, bro. That's what we're here for.
We got you.
Okay. So the livelihood of Rasulullah. This is the problem with people who don't have enough knowledge to look up references. They take one hadith or one ayah and then they think they know. But I'm glad you're here because we're here to teach you. We're here to wash your misconceptions out. So the livelihood of Rasulullah comes from what's called khums, right? That's why you have books like Fath al-Bari. Books like of hadith are not studied in silos, right? This is when you look at all the majmu' al-hadith and you look at it, right? This and the wow is not to show regarding livelihood. This is then talking about those that disobey the Prophet ﷺ after the battle, right? Because jizya is only on those that are there. Now, as I said, if Muslims, and we'll look at Ibn Kathir in a second now, right? If Muslims were paying zakat, right, and the non-Muslims were not paying anything, right, would you agree that that would not be fair?
In a situation where people are benefiting from the arrangement.
Right, we already mentioned that, right? So if you are under protection of the Islamic State, right, the defense, police, roads, all those services are being given, Muslims are paying zakat, okay? Non-Muslims are not paying anything. Would you consider that fair?
None of that is the point. The
Okay,
point,
no,
the point is,
it is the
jizya
point.
is the humiliation.
It is the point.
Jizya is the
It
humiliation.
is the point if you would listen, right? So you want to jump because you know it's going to become clear, but I'm not going to let you jump. You're going to be in your place, son. So here, I'm asking you a question. In the Islamic Khilafah, you have Muslims and non-Muslims. You got Muslims paying zakat. Zakat is going to Bayt al-Mal, which you didn't look up any of those ahadith because you didn't really want to learn. You just wanted to make this video, but I got it.
No need to keep insulting.
No, I'm not insulting.
That's
That's not
an
an
insult.
insult.
You explain.
That is not an insult. right? That is letting you know what you did and how we're going to clarify it, right? So, if you look at the ahadith about zakat, for example, which you didn't look up that verb for some reason, right? Because then you would see that the Muslim he humbles himself, right, willingly, right, by paying zakat, right or wrong, right? So when you pay zakat, and that money goes into the system, and then from yatam and masakin and even non-Muslims, like that, you can give zakat to as you look at the conditions given in the Quran, and a non-Muslim living there in that society is not paying any of that. Would you find that to be fair?
No, you should be required to.
Excellent.
Again,
Excellent.
None of that's the issue.
It is the issue.
It's the humiliation
It is the issue. If
you wouldn't say that Muslims are humiliated by paying zakat.
I would say that we are humble but willing.
Humiliated.
I'm explaining. There's a difference, right? If I pay taxes willingly, right, then I am humbled by having to pay taxes. If I choose not to and the government forces me to pay taxes, I am humiliated by them forcefully taking it from me. Correct? Yeah, I got you. So, when you're living in a Muslim Khilafah and the Muslim pays zakat willingly, right? They humble themselves. If not, and this is where you're missing, right? In the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when the Muslims stopped paying zakat, you know about this? Son, you don't watch my videos.
Wait.
You don't watch my videos.
Go over that again.
In the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu.
Oh, okay, yeah. When there was the apostasy wars.
So there was the Ridda
they
Wars
said-
against Musaylim al-Kadhab, but that was a different issue.
They refused to
But-
pay zakat, and
No.
Abu Bakr said, if they refuse to give me even a rope that they used to give Muhammad, I'm coming to fight.
We will humiliate them by taking it from them. Right? Even though those were people who made salah, who prayed, who said they were Muslim. So what is the humiliation is they were forced then, because they weren't willingly given. Right? So here in the hadith, it clarifies that as well. As a Muslim, I'm not humiliated with zakat because I pay zakat willingly. If I do not, then the Khilafah will force me and humiliate me by forcefully taking the zakat, because that is the haqq, that is the right of the poor. But Ahlul Dhimma, that would not be paying, then they would be forced to pay the jizya, because it would not be fair, as you have already agreed. So that is a humiliation.
So when Ibn Kathir says,
So let's get to Ibn Kathir.
he says paying jizya is a sign of kufr and disgrace.
So, what website is this? You and your website. If you had told me, I would have brought Ibn Kathir's actual book, the
bring it.
volumes.
This is the same as Darussalam.
This is Darul Salam's friend?
No. That's I believe it's Yusuf Esdi's website.
This says a tafsir? Okay, anyway.
No.
So let's go.
believe that's his
so
site.
go ahead. Where were you?
It just starts at the beginning. Paying
So-
jizya.
Until they pay jizya and they do not choose to embrace Islam. With willing submission. So what does this show? Right? What does it say? That if they came with
That's just
willing...
quoting 929.
Right, so that's what I'm telling you with the ayah, right? What is the meaning here?
Allah said, until they pay the jizya, if they do not choose to embrace Islam,
The next line.
with willing submission,
There you go.
it defines willing submission as in defeat and subservience.
Exactly. So what does that mean? If you are not going to be willingly submitting, then you will be defeated and no doubt made subservient. That's a humiliation, is it not?
That's not what that's saying at all.
Okay, so can you read?
He's commenting.
Read the word
Okay.
instead of giving your interpretation. You're not Ibn Kathir.
Okay. Paying jizya is a sign of kufr and disgrace. He
You
doesn't say.
skipped it.
He doesn't, I started at the very beginning. Paying jizya.
This is not from Ibn Kathir. This is your ignorance again. May Allah give you some knowledge.
This is an example because Darul Salam will have the exact same thing. You would say it's not in there.
Not. Here is Darul Salam, right? What I'm trying to explain to you, these are titles that have been put in that are not in the actual Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Okay?
They have them right there. Those are the titles.
That's what I'm trying to. This is. If you get Tafsir Ibn Kathir, Ibn Kathir does not put these in. Okay? These are put in to give you an idea of where you are. Okay? So that's not the words of Ibn Kathir. I have Tafsir Ibn Kathir in many different prints. I have scans of manuscript. I'm just trying to help you understand. This here is a title put in, because the way Ibn Kathir works, it doesn't go ayah by ayah, right? It takes a sort of chapter. So the printers, whoever put this in, They put that in. Here, Allah says is where Ibn Kathir begins, which is the ayah. When you read the ayah, what you were skipping earlier is the willing submission.
I never skipped it earlier.
Okay, let's read it. Read it from the beginning of the ayah.
Allah said,
Yeah.
until they pay the jizya,
Yes.
if they do not choose to embrace Islam. Right? Notice, it doesn't.
Keep going.
If they
Keep
do not
going.
choose to embrace Islam,
Right.
with willing submission,
There you go.
in defeat and subservience.
Exactly.
So he's describing willing submission as defeat and subservience.
No.
That's his commentary. That's the Quran. That's the Quran. That's his commentary.
You poor soul. I feel bad for you. With willing submission is what they should do. And now Ibn Kathir is explaining that when they do not, that means that they will be defeated. In defeat and submissiveness is then when you talk about the humiliation, when they're subdued because they didn't willingly submit. You didn't understand Ibn Kathir. Go ahead. Now read it again.
The verse of the Quran says,
Willing
until
submission.
they pay the jizya with willing submission
Right, so
and feel themselves subdued.
Right, so
That's
this-
what the Quran says. It doesn't say until they pay the jizya with willing submission and if they find, then they will feel themselves subdued. None of that.
Let me explain it again to you, right? So the first option is for them to become Muslim.
Okay.
Willingly they accept, right? If they do not, then they will pay the jizya, right? If they do not do it in a way of willingness, if they do not willingly accept Islam, they do not accept it, then this is the defeat and submission, the jizya that they will have to be forced to pay. Okay? So that is, and as I explained, in America, for example, if you, David Wood, say, F the IRS, not that you would use those kind of words, right? I'm not paying my taxes, right? And then the IRS will say, oh yes you are, and we're going to take you to court, and we're going to humiliate you, we're going to put you on trial, we'll send you to jail if we have to, we will make you pay those taxes, because you're not going to do it willingly. So are you not humiliated?
Yeah, I'm just still not
So
convinced
that
that's
is
what
the
this
thing.
is saying.
Okay.
Because notice, I mean, he goes on,
Right.
to
Talking about the humiliation from those that do not willingly submit. Go ahead.
wow, not what this is saying at all. This is wait. So let me get this straight. So when he goes on here and he says,
Read the ayah before you go. The part that he quotes.
and feel themselves subdued.
So what is this tafsir of now?
Surah 929.
No. Of them being subdued. He's explaining them being subdued. That's the tafsir he's making now. But what does it mean to be subdued?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Disgraced, humiliated, and belittled.
That's what means to be subdued, right?
Therefore, Muslims are not allowed to honor the people of the Dhimma. Notice it doesn't say people of the Dhimma who rebelled and so on.
Right,
So therefore, Muslims are not allowed to honor the people of the
Context.
Dhimma.
Context. Hold on. Context. What you're doing is the ayah is talking about those that fought, did not willingly submit, did not become Muslim, and had to be subdued. So that's the Ahlul Dhimma you're talking about. Ahlul Dhimma have different categories, right? Just because he doesn't say clarify because of the context, don't assume he's talking about something else. Ahlul Dhimma, for example, those that are given their harbi, for example, those that were actually fighting you. There are those that are not harbi, there were those that supported you. You know about this, right? There's a book, try to get it. It's called Ahkam Ahlul Dhimma Ibn al-Qayyim. Okay? It explains all the different things so that you can be more educated with your responsibility. Go ahead.
So when he goes on to say, quotes Muhammad, do not initiate the salam to the Jews and Christians. And if you meet any of them in a road, force them to its narrowest alley. You're saying that only applies to rebels, not to just Jews and Christians
that
in
does
general.
not. Let me explain that hadith. As you know, that there are times where you can say salam to a non-Muslim. For example, in the Quran, when it says the people of Jahl, ignorance come, qulu salam. Right? That hadith, because you don't know context again, is when the Yahud, there were Jews in Medina, that would say sam alayk. They would say, may death and poison and things be upon you. You know the hadith? Or
It
you
says
don't?
Jews and Christians.
But I'm telling you the context of the hadith itself. Okay? So, when they used to do this, in a
They would say
hadith,
death be upon you or something
yes,
like that.
yeah, you know about the hadith or you know? You know about it? You don't know.
Yeah, the one where they were slurring something. They were slurring something, so they're actually
So
saying
you
death.
do know about it. You're just trying to hide it. I got you. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she responded. She said, "May death be upon you," and she went off on them. Rasulullah said, "Alayki bi fahish." It's upon you. Don't get. Just say wa alayk. Don't initiate the salam, because when you do, then they may respond to you with something that is disgraceful, right? So just tell them wa alaykum. Don't say wa alaykum assalam, don't get upset. In Tafsir ibn Kathir, for example, or in Fath al-Bari, there are different opinions among scholars. Some of them said, if the dhimmi is such, or a person, that they do not curse you, you are allowed to initiate the salam. Other ulama said, no, because of the fear of that changing things, you should keep the salam for the Muslim. This is the greeting for Muslims, which I agree with, right? And if a non-Muslim does greet you, you say wa alaykum. If you tell me salam alaikum, I will say wa alaikum. If you wish peace for me, I will wish it for you. If you wish death for me, then I'll say.
If I were a dhimmi.
Yeah, you don't. I just told you the hadith in its full context. Miskeen, right? like you get proven wrong all these times, but
I'm just clarifying. I want your version of Islam.
It's not my version. It is. I didn't make up the hadith for Usman. You look up the hadith, right? Where Rasul says, "Qul wa alaykum." Say, what do you say? Wa alaykum. So even as a dhimmi, you're not a dhimmi because you're not living in the Khilaf anyway, but as a non-Muslim, if you come to me and you say assalamu alaikum with good intent, I will say wa alaikum. If you wish salam for me, I wish salam for you. But if you try to curse me with those words, then I will say wa alaikum, and whatever you wish for me will come back to you.
What about the hadith where Ibn Umar, someone gives him the salam, he says salam, and then he goes away, and then it was told to him that was a Jew or something like this, and he comes back and he says, "Give me back my greeting."
Show it to me.
I'll have to look it up.
Oh, then look it up, and then we'll look at it. Okay.
All right.
Because context, you've already proven that you always take things out of context. Maybe out of mistake. I'm not saying it intentionally. So I want to see the hadith and we can explain it. Okay. This hadith about saying salam, you can look it up on Islam QA, whatever that's the website you're familiar with, and it talks about the conditions where you can say wa alaykum assalam and which ulama take opinion. And if not, as I said, I have Fath al-Bari, the Sharh al-Bukhari by Ibn Hajar. He explains it as well, so you can open your mind. So now, when you talk about jizya, if you're looking at it just from the perspective of one ayah, one hadith, this is where you misunderstand the full context, right? But when you look at it from the full context of how it's implemented, right? In implementation, if you are non-Muslim, living in a Muslim land, enjoying the services provided to you by the Islamic government, right? In response for those services, you pay into the system, right? Me as a Muslim, I pay zakat, you pay jizya. Do you see any problem with that?
No, I have no problem with paying government.
I'm glad you don't. So, no problem with jizya. Jazakallah khair. Next.
Oh, problem with jizya.
Oh, okay. You just said you don't.
I just am not seeing any of that in the source. But what do you think about the pact? What do you think about the pact with Umar?
Let me explain that. Okay. Regarding when you say you're not seeing that, which book of fiqh of jizya have you studied?
I'm just talking about the passage here.
I'm explaining.
If you can't understand, if you go to the Quran and you can't understand it, and you go to the commentary and you can't understand it, and you go to the Hadith and you can't understand it, it just seems like this is not able to be understood.
I got you. When you talk about learning law, you're talking about Islamic law, right? Right? You do not say, as David, that you just pick up one book of law from anywhere and then you will have your own understanding, right? You are not reading a book of implementation of jizya, right? You're not, right? What you're doing is you found these verses, not randomly, you found them.
Here's a verse.
Right, but how did you get to the verse?
Let me look up Ibn Kathir.
How did you get to the verse?
Reading the Quran.
You were just reading the Quran randomly and the ayah came?
I have entire Qurans highlighted all the way through.
Tell me the truth. Were you just randomly reading the Quran and that ayah came, or were you
I saw
looking?
this long before I ever actually read through the entire Quran.
So what you did is you found a verse that you found that you could use to be problematic, and then you hold on, I'm getting it, right? Then you went and looked it up to try to make this attack on Islam. What you should have done is gone to a book that talks about the implementation of Islamic law. And from the Quran and from Sahih Ahadith, they would have brought you the majmu', all of them, to show how jizya works. But you had an intention to take a jab instead of learn. So I'll tell you what, again, we have a book, I'm making an offer here. Okay? We have a book called Zadul Mustaqim, the fiqh book, that brings then the evidences from the Quran and Sahih Ahadith and Aqwal of Sahaba and the different madhahib. We are going through it. Right? Watch the videos from the beginning with Tahara, Salah, Siyam. We will go over jizya. We'll go over jihad, qital, offensive, defensive, all of that, right? With not just one ayah, but looking at all of the ayat, looking at all of the ahadith, and the scholarly deduction of ulama, so you can learn.
Now, I am going to prove that everything you just said is complete nonsense.
All right, cool.
All right.
Here.
With Ibn Kathir.